Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the 12th edition of Cafemutual Ideas Fest. Wonderful to see all of you here. Friends, my journey with mutual funds started 31 years back when I joined India's first private sector mutual fund, Protharika. Since then, one question has always fascinated me. What makes one mutual fund distributor super successful and the other not so? Even when they put in the same kind of effort and the same background, the results are very often very different. Some of you would say attributed to luck, and you would be correct to do so. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, in his classic book, Fooled by Randomness, has actually looked at the role of luck in success. But I want today focus on something else, and this is personality traits of a successful MFD. So let's get on with the presentation. Okay. Now, trustworthiness is the foundation of whatever we do. Why is it so? Our clients entrust us with their financial future. They entrust us with their hard-earned money. So honesty and integrity form the basis, the very foundation of any long-lasting relationship. How does trustworthiness manifest itself? When we make complete disclosure, we are transparent with our clients, we tell them about the risks associated with the investments that we are recommending to them. Empathy. Now, empathy, I'll use an example to illustrate this particular trait. Let's say that there is a retail investor who has invested, who has 1 lakh to invest with you. And it is clear that if it's a retail investor, this 1 lakh would be the result of a few months of savings and a few sacrifices that the family would have made. They would have denied themselves outings and so on. तो पेट काट कर उन्होंने ये बचत किया. और अगर इस 1 लाख का वैल्यू हम आपकी तरफ से देखें, how much is it? How much is it? How much is this 1 lakh worth to you? It's 1,000. That's the commission that you're likely to make on this. So there is an asymmetry there. This, on one hand, there is your stake is 1,000 in that entire 1 lakh, and to the investor, this is a few months of hard-earned savings. So when you are able to put yourself in the client's shoe, when you are able to feel the pain, when you are able to feel his hopes, his goals, his aspirations, then we have something called empathy. Okay. Importantly, next is communication. Mutual funds are a very difficult concept to explain to people, and so are capital markets. So you will need to have very smart communication skills to be able to turn these complex subjects into simple ideas. Next is patience. While making decisions about investments, your clients very often take their own time and sometimes obviously tests your patience. Similarly, investing in mutual funds is a long-term game. It requires patience. In fact, the only thing that you are rewarded for is for patience, being patient. So, next is persuasiveness. What do I mean by persuasiveness? Mutual funds are a very abstract concept. You can't see them, you can't feel them, you can't touch them. Moreover, they ask you to postpone gratification for a benefit which is not defined in future, which is not guaranteed. कितना मिलेगा मालूम नहीं. Guarantee है कि ये capital erode नहीं होगा मालूम नहीं. So when you have such a challenging product, you will need all the persuasiveness to be able to convince the client to think long term and start investing with you. Similarly, once the investing journey gets started, you will have ups and downs in the market. The client might want to, in that case, exit, and then you will again require your persuasive skills to be able to make them stay the course. Today, we will have Sanjeevani Awards, where we are giving out awards to 10 MFDs. One thing which is going to be very common, and you will see for all these MFDs, is that they have offered solutions to their clients to really complex problems. Problems such as getting out of a dead client, complex problems such as doing retirement planning, complex problems such as those facing a financially adverse situation. So all these MFDs have used their knowledge to solve problems and offer solutions to their clients. Problem solving is something which is very important. Next is proactive, being proactive. Friends, we operate in an environment which is fairly complex. The markets keep changing. The regulator can throw surprises, and obviously the client's needs and client's requirements keep evolving. We need to be able to anticipate. We need to be able to understand and declutter what is happening in the environment for us. That's very, very important. I'm not saying you're going to be able to predict the future. That's impossible. But to be having a good understanding of what's going on in the environment is very, very important. And that's what I call being proactive. Later in the day, my friend and colleague Nishant Patnaik will be taking a session on GST. For the last 18 months or so, we've been getting frantic calls from distributors. We keep getting email messages asking us to guide them on what is GST. And they come up with very, very specific problems. And why is it that we're getting so many things? Because one of the things, as perhaps distributors, we overlooked was the impact of GST. The rules have been announced a long time back, but perhaps we did not apply our minds to it. And today we find ourselves in a situation where we are in a sticky situation. So as an MFD, you are exposed to many, many complex rules, regulations. Not only is it GST, taxation keeps changing on the investments that you keep recommending. Procedures to invest, if you are having an NRI clientele, there's a whole host of rules to deal with. Then there is something called density. So the environment keeps changing, throwing a lot of surprises. And it is how you are able to focus on the details which is going to make all the difference. And details is both in terms of the big picture, details is in terms of minute things. Even in filling up a form correctly, have a lot of impact in the future on the client. If you don't fill up, let's say, the nomination or fill up the wrong nomination, you fill up multiple nominations, forget to give the ratio. Maybe that's not what the client wants. So you need to be very detail-oriented. This is a business which requires us to be detail-oriented. When I began my journey 31 years back with Khatri Pioneer, one of the first things that we did, at least I did when I joined them, was to conduct a MFD program, MFD event. So we gave a minimum commitment to the hotel of 200 in Chennai. And guess what? I joined at the time when the markets were at a peak. 400 people turned up. Forget about seating capacity, there was no standing capacity, people were standing outside the hall, and obviously food had run out. So we had an interesting experience. Cut to a couple of years later, we were doing roadshows for our ELSS. Okay? And we knew that the environment was not so good, and hence we muted our expectations. So whereas in the peak time, we would have given the hotel a commitment of 200, we said, these are not good times, let's give the hotel a commitment of 100 only. And guess what? Only 50 people would turn up. And what had happened to the people who were there at the same event 2 years back? They had all vanished. Many of them had become travel agents, Many of them had started focusing completely on insurance. And many of them were selling government small savings. At that time, we used to earn a commission on that. So we found that the interest vanished. Then cut to 1999, tech stocks started doing well. And again, we found that our meetings were well attended. And then again, you know what happened? Tech burst happened in 2000, and subsequently, we found a lot of distributors vanishing. In fact, when I started Cafemutual in 2010, there were very few distributors. The number of active distributors used to be a couple of thousand, 3,000 when I started Cafemutual. So what was happening? We find that in this game, a lot of people come in with the good times and exit during the bad times. But the wonderful thing about this business is the people who have stayed back have all done wonderfully for themselves. People who've been around for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years. I challenge you to give me example of one MFD who has put in hard work and who's been around for 15 years and who has not done well for themselves. I find that these people have done exceedingly. Why? Because they were resilient. They did not give up through the ups and downs of the market. So I consider resilience to be a very important quality. And I hope that we are not going to be tested again, but it might just happen that we might get tested again with what is happening in the markets today. In fact, this morning when I was coming here, I got a call from an MFD asking me for my views. I'm no expert, I've never pretended to be an expert in the markets, but anyway, this person was looking for comfort from me. He was wanting me to tell him that the market had reached the bottom and now they will turn around. Anyway, I tried to comfort him to the best of my ability. So the important thing is resilience. And finally, I come to relationship building skills. This is not a transactional game. This is a very relationship-oriented business. And when I say relationship-oriented business, it not only starts with getting the investment, it is with nurturing both the investment and the relationship over the long term. And how does that happen? That is when we are proactive. When we initiate communication with our client, we stay in touch with them, we engage them. So now that I've talked to you so much about these personality traits, one question would be on the minds of many of you, which is, Prem, you told us about these traits, but isn't our personality something that we inherited? Isn't it difficult to change? The answer is yes and no. But as far as I'm concerned, the personality traits that I talked about today are things that we can certainly improve on. So we can polish the things that we are better at, and we can work on the things we are not good at. Let's take an example of communication. How many of you believe that communication is something that we can all learn to be better at? How many of you believe that? Great. Similarly, when it is attention to detail, it is a question of discipline. Okay. Similarly, when we are talking about trust and integrity, it is not something that we inherited. The ability to be able to generate trust in other people. It is about having the right value system. It is about inculcating, and these are all things which we learn. Values are not something we are born with. And values are something that we pick up on the way, and we can certainly pick a better value system for ourselves. So many of these traits, most of these traits in fact, are things that we can learn and improve upon. With that, I come to the end of my presentation. I hope you found this presentation useful, and I wish you all the best in whatever field, whatever location you're coming from. And all the best. Have a nice day.